All right, now we got our list of recipes displaying and also the ability to add new recipes. Let's look into making the delete button work. So right now, obviously, if I click on it, nothing happens. And let's check what we have for the code that ChatGTP generated for us. Let's look at the front end. Let's go into the Angular component where everything is. Let's look at the template. So for when we list the recipes here, this is the delete button right here. So when you click on it, it calls delete recipe while passing the recipe ID. And if we check the implementation of delete recipe, it calls the endpoint in the backend for deleting that specific recipe by the ID. Now the problem here right away I can pinpoint is if we look at the current example of our recipe, this is the file that we currently use as our database. So the first one has the ID, but the ones that I generated with my form, those don't have the IDs. So therefore, it's definitely not going to work. Deleting. So one thing we need to make sure is that when adding the recipes, we generate the ID along with that. So this is the add recipe. And here, let's see the post. So this is the new recipe, which comes from the property here that gets filled out from the form. New recipe. Here where it gets the name, here's where it gets the description. So what we need here is to adjust the add recipe to also, let's see, that's how you pass the new recipe. So this expects an object. So what I'm going to do is transform this. Let's say I'm going to create a new variable like this. New recipe to save, and it'll be an object. And here, the properties. So the expected properties, let's just copy this from here. Name and description. First is name. Where's the property name? Okay, new recipe. Dot name. And then the description is the same thing. Just renaming the properties. And here, now it comes to the ID. Here, let's make sure we pass the ID. Now this is a new recipe, and we either could somehow know the last ID that exists in the database, in this case just one, and then increment that when we create a new ID. But a more sure way is to use auto-generated UUID value, which is a much longer, and it has a very small chance of colliding with any other values in your database. So let's install and use that UUID value. Let's go to here and then ask ChatGPT, show usage of UUID in an Angular application. All right, let's install that. Oh wait, we gotta make sure to go into the front end folder. So it installs for Angular and not for the Express.js. Okay, and now we should be able to import it in our code. Doesn't recognize this input right away. Okay, it just says that it's never used. Okay, give me a chance to use it here. And to use it, you just go with, I think, UUID like this. All right, it's not highlighting anything. Let's see if the app builds. Go here. It doesn't build. It says, could not find declaration of. Okay, let's just try what it suggests here to install the type definitions. Copy that. Go here. Go back here. Reload. I think so, but to make sure, let's restart the ngserif command. All right, now it works. Let's see if the app works. Go on the front end, reloading. Okay, everything seems fine so far. Let's create a new recipe and also watch the network tab. Here, let's say what's the latest name of the recipe. Let's say test4. Description, doesn't matter. Add recipe. Here's the API call. Let's look at the payload. It did not add the ID. That's because here I forgot to update the code to here pass this recipe variable instead of the other one. All right, reload and let's try again. This will be test 5. Description, add. This was the API call. There you go. Now the ID was added. And if we look at our pretend database, let's see. All right, the latest ID that we added has the ID. The latest recipe that we added has the ID. So now let's just delete the ones that don't have the IDs. We'll refresh this page. All right, now we just have those that have IDs. And now when we click the delete button, let's look at the implementation. Now the delete button, it will have the ID passing to the backend. Now let's see what backend is doing with that ID. We'll go to the servers.js, and then here it grabs the ID from the payload, and then it reads the file with the pretend database, and then it filters out the list of recipes by removing the one that has the ID in there, and then saves that updated list into the file again. So in theory, this all looks fine. I think it might even work. Let's give it a try. Open the network tab again and try to delete the recipe. All right, there was a 200. Oh, look at this. So the delete call succeeded. Was there any response? Yeah, okay, our server responds with a success message, and then the component, our component refreshed the list of recipes after the successful delete operation, and the recipe that we deleted is gone. So I'm very surprised that everything just worked out after we added the ID to our recipes. So is there more to it about deleting the recipes? I don't think so. This is looking good. So next time we're going to update the app to we'll simulate slow network and add the loaders to different actions that we can take here. When the list is loading initially, we need a loader, and when we click a button, the API request might take a little bit, so we need some kind of loader on the button. And after we click the button, the list refreshes. There's also need to be a loader, so we'll need to all capture it in some kind of a state management here. And before we wrap this up, let's just make sure to commit the changes to the app to the Git repository. So check Git status real quick. What do we have here? Just updating a few files. Let's take a quick look at the diff. So updated the database file, and then the package JSON, and then modified the add recipe by adding the UUID here. And look at this, didn't even need to make any changes to the delete implementation. It worked out of the box. That's pretty cool. All right, let's just commit these changes to the branch. Now what we did here, make the delete recipe work, and then push up to the branch. GPH is just my shortcut for git push origin head, and it pushes along to whatever the branch you have checked out. All right, until next time.